She's connecting Hollywood charm with global energy.
I'm kind of a rebel. I am a rebel. And I don't believe in following people's rules. Give yourself that freedom to think, well, what if this and what if, right? The magical what if.
A dynamic force in acting and sales.
He was eating human meat, okay?
Oh, gosh.
The whole scenario of the movie is that he was supplying women meat.
That sounds disgusting.
Monetizing passions along the way.
I don't think that you ever would have had any problem connecting anyone's passion and monetizing it, right?
I think I could figure out a way to monetize just about anything. You're never going to get 100% yeses from anyone.
I want to do mine.
Okay. We can cut it out.
It's not my podcast, it's yours.
No, it's your podcast.
Turning every script into a story that sells.
Get comfortable with being uncomfortable because your big dreams are not inside your comfort zone.
All right, so without further ado, please welcome Anne Alexander Seider. Hi, Anne.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's an honor to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
And guys, first time in a while, we have an actor / screenwriter on the podcast. Can you imagine? She's a coach
/ founder.
Yes, /
Yes.
coach. I was coming there, / coach
Yeah.
/ founder.
Yeah.
And when I looked at her, I was like, oh my God, I was talking to an actor, someone from Hollywood, not even Bollywood. But anyways,
Wow.
I got my, I got my confidence and everything. And now it's time to take a rapid fire for Anne before the main podcast. All right, Anne?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay. What's that one acting technique that you have applied to sales coaching? Which
The
is
one
surprising.
acting What?
You can start the answer.
Okay. The one acting technique that I've applied to sales coaching is using the magic of what if. Instead of letting people fall into the what if it doesn't work for me, I invite them to think about what if it does.
Oh, nice. Okay. Describe your coaching philosophy in a movie title.
My coaching philosophy in a movie title is get outside your comfort zone.
Oh, wow. I like it. What's that one character trait that you think is critical for selling techniques?
The one character trait I think is critical for selling techniques is being authentic. People won't work with you if they don't trust you.
Nice. What's your go-to technique to regain focus when a sales pitch goes off the track?
When a sales pitch goes off the track and I need to regain focus, I usually try and bring them to the here and now, meaning what is the challenge that you're dealing with now, not all the things that are going on around it. Let's just talk about the challenge itself.
Okay. All right. What's your number one tip for turning a no into a yes?
My number one tip for turning a no into a yes is going back to the root of their challenges and reminding them that they've been struggling for a long time and that if they keep doing the same thing, they're going to keep getting the same results.
You got to put different input for a different outcome.
Exactly.
Can you give me 3 tips for anyone who wants to go for acting?
3 tips for anyone who wants to become an actor would be to get training, the best training you can find and afford. Get that first. Then number 2 is consider your acting career as a business. You are in the business of being an actor. Treat it that way. And number 3 is learn how to pitch. Everything we do when we're not acting is pitching ourselves to get that next role.
Nice. It's like an interview.
Yeah.
Okay. You have any unusual talent or any talent that your fans don't know about?
Do I have any talents that my fans don't know about? Well, I can ski a black run on the slopes, which kind of surprised me too. I lived to tell the tale.
Yay!
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Now this one's a tough. Okay. One a one-liner from any film that also doubles as a sales advice. Any dialogue from your film.
Okay. A one-liner from any film that also doubles as a sales advice. Hasta la vista, baby. And it doubles as a sales advice because sometimes you need a follow-up call.
Okay, all right. So that ends the rapid fire. Moving on to the main podcast. Now, what's the most valuable lesson that you have learned in your acting career?
As an actor, the most valuable lesson that I've learned as an actor and a human being is not to let fear block you, to acknowledge that it's there. I like to think of my fear as kind of like a helicopter mom, not a saboteur. And I just want to reassure my helicopter mom fear that whether I fall on my face or I walk into a wall, whatever happens, I'm still going to be okay. So I appreciate the concern, but don't get in my way. I wish I had known that before.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay. As a coach, what is that one sales strategy that you would want everyone to practice?
Well, I don't coach sales. You know that, right?
Of course you don't, of course,
No.
but you
Okay. Yeah.
are now.
Okay. But when you are in business for yourself, and all actors are in the business of being an actor, of acting, I think the second most important skill, maybe even the first most important skill that any actor can have, but anyone who is in business for themselves, is to learn how to pitch yourself. And there are two kinds of pitches, or at least in the way I teach. So one is a hard pitch, one is a soft pitch. A hard pitch is when you're being very transparent about what it is that you want. In the case of an actor, you may email a hard pitch to an agency saying, I want to have a conversation about working together, or to a director, I want to have a conversation about working together. But there are also soft pitches, and those are when you're just planting seeds, when you are trying to make someone understand your value and what it is that you do, but you're not directly asking for anything. You're just planting the seeds. And so I think if you can really get good at both kinds of pitches and learn how to advocate for yourself, because that's what it really boils down to, advocate for what you do or for yourself, depending on what your business is, then the more comfortable you're going to get with it. And if you can do that, you become unstoppable. You become a force to be reckoned with.
Nice. Okay. How do you incorporate mindfulness in your current coaching?
Mindfulness. Well, there is a lot of self-reflection involved in figuring out your brand, because we are so close to ourselves, especially when your brand is a personal brand, as it is with actors, but also many other people, right? Many people, many types of jobs, many types of careers boils down to a personal branding. So for an actor, your brand is made up of three different parts. It's who you are, what you bring to the table, everything that you want, and the themes that really light you up. That's the you side of it. The other side of it is how you are perceived by the industry. And then you also have the history. How have you been cast, or how have casting directors, even if you haven't actually been booked, but what kind of auditions have you been getting? And when you put all of those three things together, you can think of it like a Venn diagram. You know, the three circles that overlap each other. And the more they can overlap, that part in the middle where they're overlapping, that's your sweet spot. And the more they overlap, the bigger your sweet spot is going to be. And the more clear it will be for what your personal brand is and how you should be, in the case of an actor, how you should be cast.
Wow, that's a beautiful insight, Anne. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. um, I would actually, I was thinking the past few days that sales is just similar to acting, right? Do you accept that analogy?
I do. I mean, it depends what you mean by acting.
Okay, let's just say that I have to lie to my mom about something.
Ah, okay, then I don't agree because acting is not about lying. Yeah, it's not.
If I'm a
Acting
good
is not about
actor, no?
good acting is about telling the truth. It's never about lying. First of all, I do a sales call with people. So a lot of people don't, right? A lot of people sell on a webinar or on a video sales call. Not a video sales call, video sales. What do you call those things? The videos, right?
Webinar, yeah, webinars.
Right. Well, or even just a pre-record, whatever. And and I don't do that because again, as I mentioned earlier, I work really closely with my clients. So I don't want to get somebody into the group that's going to be a drag, that's going to be a bad apple. And so also I'm not selling, I mean, my programs are not $200. They're a lot more than that. So I want to take the time and I also want to make sure that somebody feels supported. That's super important to me. I want all of my clients to feel really, really supported. So I don't know if that
Okay.
answers your questions, but yeah.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
We gotta be true. We gotta be authentic. We gotta provide value and connect with them on a personal level,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Coming back to your program now, I think that Passion Project Pro, right?
Passion. I have two programs. One is Get Better Roles. That one is specifically for trained actors who are ready to get control over their careers and finally get the opportunities to audition for the roles they deserve. And the other one that you're talking about is Passion Project to Pro. And that's really where I help anyone monetize their passions without having to be an expert influencer or coach.
Nice. So, which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, we've been talking a lot about the actor side of it, but I think honestly, I think most people are not actors and most people don't necessarily want to be actors, but most people do have a passion or a curiosity that they would like to spend more time learning about. So maybe Passion Project to Pro is more applicable to a wider audience.
Right, right, absolutely. Okay, so could you give me a few lines on what is exactly passion? As you said right now, passion project to pro. It is like, oh, passion project to pro. Oh, oh, that's hard to pronounce.
You can call it P squared. That's what I
P
call it.
squared.
P
Yes,
squared.
yes. P squared.
My
Okay,
nickname for it, P squared. Yeah, for
right,
those that know.
right.
So what
So,
it's about? Yes, it's based on honestly, it came out of so look, every problem also contains a solution if you ask the right questions. So when I decided to return to acting at 47 years old as an American woman living in Germany, I had a lot of obstacles. One was I was very rusty. I hadn't acted in 16 years. And that was my very first obstacle. And I think we also have to break these things down. Some people, they see like the Alps, they're not looking at one hill or one mountain. They're looking at the whole Alps and they're going, oh my God, how am I supposed to fix all that? Well, you don't, not all at once. You just start with the first one. And my first problem was that I was rusty and I needed to get some training. But as an American woman living in Germany, I didn't want to add the complication of having to get my training in German on top of it. Plus, to be very honest, at the time, I didn't have a whole lot of faith that I was going to get the training I needed in Munich. Berlin, maybe, but not in Munich. So I had a choice. I could fly to London, New York, LA, and get the training that I wanted from the coaches who I wanted to work with, but that was going to be super expensive and not only money expensive, but also time expensive. And I was still a mom. I still had my family to care for. And I couldn't just be flying off every month, I'm just going to go do my workshops around the world, expect that was going to be okay. So I needed the training in Munich and that became the solution. Well, I will just find out what does that take. So I started to reach out to all of these amazing coaches that I'd always wanted to work with and ask them, what would it take to get you to Munich? And it turns out not so much, nothing that was insurmountable. And so I quickly realized I only needed a handful of other actors to make it work. And once I started booking the coaches, The coaches then become the draw, which is interesting, right? Because I'm not the draw, but the coaches become the draw. And what had started happening almost immediately was I was getting my training for free when my original goal was just to pay what I would pay if the coaches were already in Munich. I had never even imagined that I might be able to get the training for free. But I ended up getting the training for free. I was earning between 1,000 and 2,000 euros per workshop. And I was building a community. And I was building a community 13, 14 years ago before community was the buzzword that it is today, which became invaluable when I actually relaunched my career. And just to give you a little bit more backstory on that, so I did that. I used to call those the workshops with these coaches. I called them the big workshops. And then I was organizing little workshops to practice what we had learned in the big workshops with the actors who had participated. So I was working out like anywhere between 3 and 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I did that for about a year and a half. And then I put it to the side because my only goal was to get the training I needed to become a professional actor again. And that was sort of phase 1 of Passion Project to Pro, which that alone I think was super valuable because it acts as a bridge from your passion to making it your profession and allowing you to earn from it and create a community around it and create authority and an income on your own time, your own flexibility. I mean, I can't say enough how I don't think I would have had the career or have the career that I have if it hadn't been for me taking that step. And then phase 2 was later on as I started to produce some short films, and filmmaking is really expensive. Even if everybody is donating all of their time and skill, you still have to pay for hotels and for food and for travel and for location and for equipment. So it's still thousands of euros, even in the best case scenario. And so I thought, oh, well, let me just put on a few workshops and real quick and then get the money from that and use that to finance these films. So then phase 2 was just strictly, my only real goal was to make money and doing something that I knew how to do, right? And then phase 3, which is what I still use it for, was to be able to network with people that I wanted to work with on an even playing ground. In the film industry, there's a lot of hierarchy. You know, and if you are not an A-list actor, you are this little actor trying to have a conversation with some big time casting director or some big time showrunner, whatever it may happen to be. But when I say to them, hey, would you be open to doing a workshop, a 3-hour workshop with actors for one afternoon or one weekend or a retreat or whatever it may happen to be, I'm able to offer them something of literal value. I'm offering to pay them. And then it opens up the door to begin having conversations and for us to get to know each other. And I'm always big on like trying to find the connections. Like I'm a mom, I like to travel, I like to eat, I like to draw, I have a dog. So I'm always looking for where are the connections. And so I ask a lot of questions, and that will usually, in the best case scenario, I've actually gotten friends out of this, out of people who normally I wouldn't be friends with because the hierarchy kind of prohibits it. And in the worst case scenario, I've had professional friendships where, no, maybe we're not hanging out on Thanksgiving or going to the movies together, but we're chatting a lot when we get together on a professional level. And
More of an acquaintance.
What's that?
More of an acquaintance?
No, it's more than an acquaintance. An acquaintance is the relationship that I would have with someone if I hadn't done a workshop with them. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely more of a professional friendship at the very least. And at the best, it's a real friendship. So it enables me to network on an entirely different level by putting us at eye level with each other. Nobody is better than the other. We're just two human beings. I'm helping you, you're helping me. And we both have this passion for the film industry. So that was kind of, and then of course, I'm 58. I have a lot of friends who are my age, who are not in the film industry. And even the ones who are. So of course, I mean, for actors, I think that there's no kind of end to the benefits of doing Passion Project to Pro because we're always having to pay for training. And it's a way to create your own curriculum. So depending on what you're interested in, maybe you're interested in voiceover, maybe you're interested in motion capture, maybe you're interested in movement, maybe you're interested in singing, maybe who knows, right? But stunt work there, firearms, horseback riding, there's just 1,000 different things you could study as an actor. Maybe that's a specific technique. It's Meisner or Chubbuck or Batson or whatever, right? There are just so many different avenues that you can go down. And so many different ways you could use it, as opposed to working as a waiter that does nothing other than give you money, which is important. You have to have money to live, but it's not supporting you in any other way. Whereas this can support you financially and support your career at the same time. And yet it's something that I found myself talking about with my girlfriends, or, mostly my girlfriends, but also men who were older and who had been working, at this job for 35 years, and they hated it and they just didn't see a way out. And I think sometimes you just need that bridge. And that is kind of the beauty of Passion Project to Pro, is that it acts as the bridge. And whether you're doing one workshop or one event, whether that's an in-person workshop, an online workshop, a retreat, a supper club, a hiking club, whatever it looks like, depending on your interest, right? Whatever that looks like, it will depend on what you want to do. And that's what I help people to figure out in the very first week. What is it, your passion or your curiosity? Because your passion, and if you don't have a passion, and some people don't, that's okay. Then I say follow your curiosity, because your curiosity is going to lead you to your purpose. It is going to lead you to that thing that really sparks you. And it could be that some people haven't found their passion because it's not one word. It's not acting, right? Like my passion, right? So for some people, like I know when I was in junior high, I took American Sign Language, what deaf people speak to each other.
Yeah.
I took that as a blow-off course. I thought, easy A, let me just take that and not have, and I fell in love with it. I just fell in love with it. I just found it so expressive, and it was like a dance with words. It was just, I loved it. And then I've always been fascinated with how people think, which is one of the reasons why I'm a good actor, right? I'm interested in how people think and why they do the things they do. So for a long time, I thought I would be a psychiatrist for deaf teenagers.
Wow.
And that was very niche. So it was a way of combining two things that interested me, that my curiosities were, and finding the crossroads of that, which could have easily, I'm sure I would have had a very fulfilling life doing that. It would have looked very different than my life looks now, but I'm sure I would have been very happy doing that. So this is what I'm talking about with the faceted diamonds as well, right?
Thank you. Yes, I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Yes, absolutely.
We all have so many different roads. Yeah.
I did. Okay. So, and I just had like, 2, 3 small questions, but I don't want to interrupt you. So when you said that you wanted to get those coaches for having a workshop, and you had a few people who also were willing to, pay for
No,
it.
first I got the coaches, and then I looked for the people.
Right. Okay.
So yeah.
Approximately, could you give me an approximate figure how much it took you for getting at least one coach?
How much? What do you mean, how much?
How much money it took you to get him for having a workshop of 3 hours, let's just say?
Well, it would depend on the coach, and it would depend on the workshop.
Absolutely. Right? Approximate. Yeah, approximate. An average value.
Yeah. Maybe by the time, you have to think about, again, I don't know if coming up with a sum is going to help you, because it will just depend on what people are doing. But I can tell you the things that I offered to pay for. Mm-hmm. And then you can, I offered to pay for his flight, my very first coach, right? I offered to pay for the flight. I offered to pay for his hotel. I rented a room. I'm one of those people, like I would bring snacks and drinks for all of the participants. And I paid a day wage to him. And then other coaches, we did it differently. So some coaches, I did it like that, where I was just like, I'll just pay for everything. And then you get your day wage and I get whatever's left. If there, was something left, and there generally was. But it really just depends, because it depends where you're bringing, some coaches I brought in from London, some from New York, some from LA, some from Berlin. As we got to know each other, I had coaches that came back. So some coaches stayed in my guest room. Some coaches always stayed in a hotel. So there are so many variations on it. And for each person, some people have a big yard, or depending on what their workshop is, right? So if you're talking about baking, like I know you like to cook, right? So if you were doing a workshop that was around cooking, you would need a kitchen where at least 7 people could comfortably stand, because you need one for the coach, one for the expert, and then you need to have 5, 6 other people to make it viable, to make it where you are, where you're learning for free and where you're earning some money.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow,
I do have a free workbook that you're welcome to download, and that your listeners are welcome to download, which kind of goes through all of this, and will get everybody, if it's like, oh, would this work for furniture upholstery? Yes, it would. Would this work for cake decoration? Yes, it would. Would this work for survival out in the California mountains? Yes, it would. You just need to find the right experts. And what I do is walk people through, first of all, the ideation. So what is it that you want to do? And what is the best type of workshop for that? What are your goals? These are the things we're figuring out. So is your goal just money, or do you really want to learn more about it? Right? So what are your goals? So we figure all of that out in the first week. And then we're moving into the second week. Okay, so now we need to find your experts. Now we need to find your coaches. Who are you following? Who are you into? Who would you love to work with? Well, the second week is all about reaching out to them. And I have templates for all of that based on all of the stuff that I've done for reaching out to those people. Then the third week is all about, okay, what kind of a venue? Like, do I need to book a space? Do I need to ask a restaurant if I can rent their restaurant on their off day? Depending on what it is that you're doing, right? And then you're looking for your participants all the way up to week 5, because it's a 6-week course. Week 5 is we're just doing the final preparation so that people can actually go and do their event. And then we have 2 weeks in between week 5 and week 6 to give everybody time to launch their event. So depending on what it is, whether it's a seminar, a retreat, whatever it is, whatever it looks like. And then we come back in week 6 and we talk about all the things that went right and all the things that you would like to improve on for the next time. But the main thing, and this is always so important no matter what you're doing, is that you will have taken the actions that will have built the confidence to know that you are capable of doing this. And again, like I think I've said this many, many times, I support my clients a lot. So I offer, when you've paid for a program with me, the support is ongoing. So you wouldn't be on the lesson calls, but you're welcome to be on the coaching calls indefinitely. So if we're past the 6 weeks and you want to jump on a coaching call because maybe you had done online workshops and now you're thinking about venturing into an in-person workshop, and what are the things that you need to watch out for, jump on a call. I feel like all of those questions that anybody brings, and ideas as well. I'm super excited about all the different kinds of things that people are all bringing together, and how somebody's ideas for a meditation retreat might spark somebody else's idea for a cooking retreat, and how that would look and how those ideas can mix together. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It makes sense. So let me just connect the dots here, okay? Let's just say that I came to you with my passion for cooking, baking, and you said,
comfort food. I remember.
Yeah. Comfort food. So we go to the next week where you help me what all things I can do to monetize this passion. And as you said that I can reach out to the coaches who are in my field in this niche. Now, the question arises is that I, right now, according to them, I'm an amateur cook, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
That's the beauty of it, Ritika, because you are there to learn.
But then why would they come on my workshop? Like if I
Because it's
do
not your
anything to them.
workshop. You
No,
are
no, not
just
not my workshop. No, sorry, not my workshop. You're not getting my point. I would definitely reach out to them. I would send them the templates and everything, saying that yes, I would like to have a workshop as you will be the guest of the workshop, and I have a couple of people waiting to learn from you, right? Okay. Now, why would he listen to me? I do follow up. I do like his post. I do socialize. I try to show him that I want to connect with you. But then, what would give me the credibility and the authority for a person like him or her to come
Well, let
on?
me ask you this. Why do you feel like, as somebody who's there to learn, that you need credibility or authority? Why do you think you need anything other than saying, I'm going to pay you for this?
Well, because there are people outside who just don't go with, like, if someone calls, like, okay, even if you pay me, I'm not coming to you because there's not
Well,
enough audience on this
Richika,
show. Because my
yes,
reach, my
sure.
audience, right?
You may not be able to get every coach, but honestly, uh, would you if I were to reach out to you, say I do something entirely different and I want to learn about sales, and that's your area of expertise. And I say, Richika, I'm just interested in getting, 12 coaches in 12 months to teach my people all about sales from their point of view. I will give you X amount, name your price. What would you charge me for that? You don't have to tell me now, but I'm just saying, these are the questions that I would be asking. What are you going to charge me for that? And if it's a number that I feel like I can come up with, then I would be like, great. All right. What does your schedule look like? If you're like, why should I teach for you? First of all, who says that? I don't know. And I've never had that, honestly, I've never had that experience.
Okay. No, it's not like that's very impolite, but no one would actually say, why should I teach you? But then I thought that that's a plausible explanation to someone just deny, because I'll tell you one thing. Okay. I reached out to someone and I was like, yes, this is a podcast. And that person said that it's a company policy that we don't do podcasts with people who at least don't have 100 episodes.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, and I said that,
But you know what? That's fair enough. And that's fair. And I can understand that decision.
yes.
But not everybody. I'm not saying anybody, but you're never going to get 100% yeses from anyone. You
Yes.
know that as a salesperson.
Yeah.
First of all, just like I tell my actors, don't reach out to one agent and expect that you're going to be having a great conversation and find your soulmate and that you're going to be with that agent for the rest of your life. You don't go on one date. Or as, I don't know if you ask people out on dates, but whatever, whether you do or you don't, everybody who asks people out on dates doesn't always get a yes. And this is no different. This is life. You will be reaching out to some people who maybe like your idea, but they don't want to be the first one. Maybe they are honestly too busy right now. And so you can just check back in later on, follow up, just like you would with a sales call, right? If somebody's like, this is not a good time in my life, then you reach out to them in a month or two or whatever it may happen to be. This is no different. Some people will say yes. Some people will say no. Some people will say, tell me more. And some people will say, let me think about it. Those are your answers.
Perfect.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted to know.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. These are all the things that people can say, and you gotta be ready for everything.
Exactly. Or some people might say not right now. And that's okay too. But those are like literally the 5 answers you're going to get.
So true.
And then, there are some follow-up emails, templates, and all of that. But at the end of the day, like when I first started my podcast, Act Bold, and I reached out to many, many casting directors, because my whole idea was to get these casting directors on my show and build these relationships with them. And the very first one that said yes to me was Tussalanda, which I know that name doesn't mean anything to you, but she cast Scepter, Skyfall, the Millennium Trilogy, Califat, major movies and series. And she said yes. So you would be surprised at the yes. I have no idea why she said yes to me. I had never interviewed anybody, right? Other than like when I was presenting and stuff, but I had never interviewed anyone in the film industry. And she said yes. And then once you have that one person who's kind of like well, so Zalanda said yes, and I'm in conversations with so and so and so and so, which is not a lie, right? You can be in conversations with someone, even if they've said no. You can still be in conversations with them because you don't know that no could be not right now or tell me more. So that's having a conversation. And I'm in conversations with someone, da 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 da. And I would love to bring you on because I know that, I could learn so much from you and my participants could learn so much from you. It's really all about how you phrase it.
Okay, all right. I'll come to your show.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. That was actually, wonderful, Anne, and I really loved it because these are the basics that people need to understand when they're going to be facing obstacles in anything they do. Let's kind of
Absolutely.
feel small, right?
Yeah.
You got to be ready, and you got to
Yeah.
be ready for digesting. It can be a no, and that's fine.
That's right. And you know what? Just like in life, I always say that the two skills an actor need to have are acting and pitching. But honestly, the pitching skill, almost no matter what you do, you need to be able to pitch. And this is part of it, right? You're pitching coaches, you're pitching experts, then you're pitching the other participants as you market it. Everything kind of boils down to the pitch. And what you have to remember with a good pitch is people don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about you. They care about themselves. So they want to know what's in it for them. And that is the basis of a good pitch. What's in it for them? Not how they can help you, but how you can help them. Right. And you have to clearly show them the benefits.
That I can learn from you. We can learn from you.
Yeah. Yeah. And people like to be flattered. Never underestimate that. Flattery will get you pretty far. Yeah. When it's honest, when it's sincere. And when you're reaching out to someone who you admire, it is sincere. And it could be something, for example, I know you're into comfort food. And because we talked about this, right? And so the Indian comfort food. And maybe you have a favorite restaurant. Maybe your grandma is amazing. And maybe your first workshop just looks like learning how to cook your favorite meal that your grandma or your mom, if your grandma's not with us anymore, somebody made with you and some friends who are just paying for the ingredients. Maybe that's what that looks like at first. There are ways to, just to get your feet wet, so to say, But you and I had also spoke about some other ways to monetize that as well. And yes, I can't help myself, to be honest. Like when people bring an interesting idea to me, I start seeing it in different ways. And so those kind of conversations will definitely be had in Passion Project to Pro. But what it is,
tell me any weird idea that you have heard or any different, out of the box idea you heard from one of your students as a passion?
Well, one was she was super into vintage clothing, but that was her passion, was vintage clothing. And my idea for her, actually it had nothing to do with Passion Project to Pro because I was coaching her as an actor's coach. But my idea for her was a way to monetize that passion would be to find a great piece, whatever it was, right? A shawl, a hat, whatever it was, and create a character around that and do like a 2-minute monologue or a scene or something. And then to sell the piece with that monologue as the sales pitch.
Oh, wow. That's actually brilliant.
Thank you. So it's finding the crossroads again, right? Between two passions. And I think when you can find the crossroads between two passions, you come up with something that's truly unique. And I really, because I spend so much time on branding as well with my clients, right? And finding out what about them is truly unique. And my brain just works that way in like, well, what can we do with that? What can we do to amplify that? One of my clients right now was he was a prison guard in San Quentin on death row for 25 years. which is
Oh, that's
crazy.
interesting.
Yeah. And he looks like it. I mean, like he looks like he totally falls into that. He looks like an FBI, a cop, detective. That's perfectly his brand. And he started to do a YouTube channel. My idea for him is a little bit different because I think he could parlay his experience, first of all, into great storytelling that could monetize his YouTube channel. But I also think he could parlay his experience into being the expert on certain TV shows or on podcasts or on news shows, that kind of a thing, right? And just through that, he's making money and he's meeting people. And then he also has the opportunity to say, here's my show reel. I have another woman who is, I'm not actually sure because I have not, she's been in my program for about maybe 5 weeks now. But she's super interesting and she's very much into her dark powers, whatever that means.
Oh.
Yeah, whatever that means. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it's fascinating. And I see
no judging here. Like, dark
no,
powers,
no judging at all. And I find it fascinating. And I'm like, absolutely, lean into that. That's fun. That's dangerous. That's sexy. That's all of that. And I know one thing about her. She's a Tantra master. And so I think that if she could find a way to combine Tantra with acting coaching, she might really be onto something winning with that, because I'm not talking about the sex part of Tantra. I'm talking about the intimacy part of Tantra, because there is so much intimacy between actors in order to get the trust and to find the truth. And so anyway, it's just how my brain works. I'm always looking for the crossroads of these things.
And it's like I don't think that you ever would have had any problem connecting anyone's passion into monetizing it, right? You would be giving them
I don't think so. I honestly don't. I think I could figure out a way to monetize just about anything. Yeah.
Oh, that's a talent I would like to have. And anyone would like to have it. Like I know something and I can monetize it. I can do anything.
Because you know what? Because I'm kind of a rebel. I am a rebel, and I don't believe in following people's rules. And I think that as soon as you give yourself that freedom to think, well, what if this and what if, right? The magical what if. And what if I were to combine these two, or how can I combine these two things? And I think sometimes just sitting down and doing a mind map, when you write out, like say, for instance, this actor, who was into vintage shopping, acting, vintage, how can those two intersect? Well, one is doing monologues, right? Or like a writer could do the same thing. A writer could create a whole story around each piece that they're selling, whether it's furniture or jewelry or whatever they're into, right? Whatever it may happen to be. But I think that any kind of vintage clothing, even I think a filmmaker could do. I mean, this is how my mind works I go to storytelling because obviously that's what I know. But I think even when we talked about your passion of comfort food, and I was saying you should turn that into a YouTube channel.
I want to do mine. Okay.
You can cut it out. But anyway, you know what? Frankly, even Rachika, even if somebody heard it and they decide to do it, they're not going to do it the way you do it. And they're not going to talk about it in the way you talk about it. And they're not going to have the recipes that you have. That's the beauty of leaning into who you are and what lights you up. So it doesn't matter if somebody takes your idea and decides to do a comfort food channel, because it's not going to be the same as your comfort food channel. Because you're going to infuse it with everything that you like.
See, you know what? Let's just say that I do start. Okay, I start.
You have to keep me posted if you do that. I'll be your first subscriber.
I was hoping to write a blog first of all, because I'll tell you one thing. Since you're born to the day you die, every single moment of your life you do for food, shelter, and probably entertainment, and now money. Like that's also one of our basic need. But when if I have a baby tomorrow, I want him to have the most expensive baby food out there. If I become old, I will definitely have, I would want to eat the most expensive food in the world. The point is that you want to see that experience, how you feel after eating. Have you seen the movie Fresh? No, it was old or something. Fresh. Have you seen it?
Fresh?
Yes.
Oh, the one about our food, right? It was a documentary?
Yes. No, it was actually he was a serial killer. It was a thriller movie, and
Oh,
he
no, I never saw it.
you should see it.
No, I don't
I'll
like
send you.
horror.
It
You
was
like horror.
not.
I don't like horror. Yeah.
Thriller. He was
Yeah.
eating human meat, okay?
Oh,
Human
gosh,
flesh.
that sounds disgusting.
But
No,
the
thank
point
you.
is, the point is that the whole scenario of the movie is that he was supplying women meat, okay, thighs, like, or else let's just say bum, no, okay, whatever part they desired, he used to capture women, and what his mentality was that if you give this meat, now these people are the ones who have eaten everything in the world. They are so rich, beyond rich. They have enough money, they cannot even spend. So now they wanted to eat this meat that is something that no one has had, and now they loved it. So now he sends the photo uh, of the girl and her meat. That's the movie. And so I'm like, it's all about eating. No matter how rich you become, no matter how poor you are, everything just connects to eating, what food you eat and how it makes you feel.
I would disagree that that is about eating. I think that eating is the means to accomplish what it's really about. And what it's really about is exclusivity and having something that nobody else can have.
Well, I would say that, but I kind of have a different perspective because if I am crying and, as I said, comfort food, and I eat that, I feel okay, it's not that bad anymore. And if I'm happy, I would definitely want, some finger foods and a beer probably, you know, again, to make myself celebratory that, okay, I celebrated
Yeah.
this. It's somewhere at the point.
Well, do you know Maslow's triangle hierarchy of needs?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Well, yes, there is even a hierarchy of the needs, but I still think that if I can connect every single thing, every single attribute to food and how it makes you feel and what people do, I would definitely catch you up on that. But it's not my podcast; it's yours.
No, it's your podcast.
Yes, but you're the limelight today. So, anyways, thank you so much, Anne. It was a pleasure having you on the podcast, and
Absolutely. It was
I'm
fun.
sure you enjoyed the conversation.
I did. Yeah.
Any last words you want to say to the audience?
Yes. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable because your big dreams are not inside your comfort zone. So thank that helicopter mama fear and tell it to back off and go after what you want. Even if you're just taking tiny steps, if you take tiny steps every single day, you're still going to get where you want to go. So there is nothing in the world that should stop anybody from finding their true purpose on this planet, because that's what we're all here for. We're here to have the opportunity to give meaning to our lives. Not everybody does it, but we are all given that opportunity, that chance to make our lives meaningful. And I really believe that the key to finding the meaning is through your passions and curiosities. So follow them.
All right, thank you, Anne. That was super sweet, guys. If you loved the episode and if you absolutely loved it, then please like, subscribe, and share. Okay, peace out.